On the legalism aspect in the churches of China, the article Christianity of China states that Christianity is not legal in most of China. The usual religions are Buddhism, Catholicism, Daoism, Islam, and Protestantism. China has ranked 10th in the past 25 years as the most difficult and dangerous place to practice Christianity. In the eastern coast of China, the removal of hundreds of crosses and demolition of dozens of churches allegedly violated construction regulations, even though several of the churches had received prior approval from local officials. The officials in Eastern Coastal Province announced that the party would enforce a ban on religious belief among party members to prevent penetration of Western hostile forces. Similar actions were done in central China. The China Communist Party identifies religious groups as potential threats to 1. National security, 2. Social harmony, and 3. Core interests. China believes the construction of Chinese Christian theology should adapt to China's national condition and integrate with Chinese culture. Now, on the cultural side, there are many differences between the culture of China and the United States. The church is usually called an education ministry. My pastor, David Bearden, was taught when greeting someone to do a small bow and to hold out his business card, holding the upper corners of the card with the name facing on the card towards the person he's giving it to. Another cultural difference is Chinese elders are treated with respect and dignity, almost as if they were on a pedestal. Elderly people would walk into a room first and nobody would sit down until the elderly person or people would sit down first. But if an American is visiting, they'll be treated as an honored guest. In the churches of China, the beginning of the service is always started with the Lord's Prayer. It goes something like this: Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. A woman would usually lead the prayer because women are looked as those who should serve the men. There is usually only one prayer for both the bread and the cup. In America, we usually do a prayer for the bread and a prayer for the cup. So we usually do 2 prayers in American churches. All of the communion passing and prayer is supervised by the pastor, who is usually a woman in the China churches. It is dishonorable for men to serve the communion, so the formal way in China is for women to serve the men. Usually in state Chinese churches, it is formal for women to do all the preaching and the serving on the communion. In some non-formal churches, men will occasionally lead the prayer. In Americanized churches in China, men will lead the prayer, but the men still feel dishonored if they are Chinese. In underground churches, mostly men will serve on the communion. On the article I read in the Homely Communion, it talks about how the ministers wear formal black and red robes to church with a sash that has some sort of writing over it. They almost look like graduation robes. In the underground churches, everyone will dress casually. No one will wear communion robes, and some men will lead the prayer or communion. The Chinese have many sayings, but in the Verge magazine that I read, 2 important sayings were presented. 1, be the first to show concern and the last to enjoy yourself. 2, it is impolite not to return what one receives. And here are some of the references I got online.